Whew. Eric, is it possible you got better looking since the last time we did a podcast?
Absolutely. It's just incredible what Puerto Ricans look at my shirt now. Can you see that shirt?
And that's how I saved the world?
Yes, that's Jesus flash reading the book really fast, the Bible. You see that?
Yeah.
And that's Jesus telling you guys are not powerful at all, man.
Was he on TRT?
I don't know, man. I don't want to mess with that, though.
We are live, guys. You're just chatting away. I see Russ is rebooting the computer, so he can come on as well. So, welcome everyone to the TOT Doctors Roundtable. As you can see, we have Dani Bossa. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we have Dr. Eric Serrano. Welcome, Eric.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And Russ Scala is still trying to get online as well. So, these guys, together with many others, they are in our closed and free Facebook group, TRT and Hormone Optimization Therapy, HOT. And if you are watching this, you surely must be interested. And if you haven't already, so please join that group. I will leave the link under this video. And first, we'll do a couple of prepared questions for our panel. And afterwards, we will take your questions from the Q&A live stream. So let's see the questions that we got in. Okay, something that I found interesting. Someone asked, since we recover faster on TRT, can we get away with less sleep?
No, there's two things that you cannot get away with, Stephen. I mean, we can use all the TRT. We can use any workout we want, but if you don't eat correctly and sleep correctly, you're not going anywhere. The circadian rhythm dictates. Actually, the worst torture for a soldier is not retaining food, is not keeping away things, it's not letting him sleep. Okay, you hallucinate, you do all that. Every single part of your body is circadian dependent. Also, your brain, when it sleeps, people do not know this, but it shrinks about 40%. And the reason that it does that is because it wants to shrink to the blood-brain barrier opens up to bring nutrients into the brain. So that happens at night. So let's suppose that you're taking all the TRT you want to, and I know this doesn't sound good, but I have a few strippers in my practice, right? They stay up at night, they take TRT, but they still don't recover. They still have issues. So the sleep part of your life is insane. It's absolutely necessary. I know that when we're younger, we're going out, partying. Trust me, it comes back to you, especially if you follow the research, Stephen. The worst cancers are the people that are shift workers. Or obesity will happen faster on people that are shift workers. For example, the worst ones of this are nurses. I don't know how you are in the hospital where you are, Stephen, or Danny in Montreal. People that tend to be more overweight are the people that tend to stay up or have night shift working. So no, absolutely, TRT cannot make up for staying up or affecting the circadian rhythm. There's no way.
Okay, that is clear. But I have had messages from guys sometimes, personal messages that said, since I am on TRT, I need less sleep, or they seem to be awake more early.
There's a difference between needing less sleep, which it is possible, but affecting the circadian rhythm is another thing. Now, let's suppose I have more energy because I'm in TRT. Of course, you're going to need less sleep and you recover faster, but that doesn't make it up. Now, eventually, everything catches up to you. So, yes, I'm taking TRT. I'm going to stay. I go to bed every day at 10 o'clock, right? Or I'm going to stay until midnight. That eventually catches up. So, don't follow that routine that, oh, I'm in TRT, I'm going to recover faster. It might work for a while, but it will end up catching up for you. I'm the oldest. I mean, how old are you, Stephen? Do you know how old are you?
45.
So you're 45. I'm going to be 57. So I'm telling you as experience. Now I go to bed at 9, not because I want to go to bed at 9. B, of course, I come home from work on the clinic and I have to go outside and move cows or move pigs or whatever, which is hard work too. So, when I time I'm beat, I'm okay. Now I sleep well. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning. So it's not bad, but no, there's no way. You can sleep less, but make sure that doesn't become a routine.
Okay. What is your experience, Danny?
Well, I agree with everything Eric said. One major difference I've found since getting my levels up is before I could sleep in till 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning on a weekend, no problem at all. And I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, and it would take me like half an hour to get up. Now, even on a weekend, sometimes I open my eyes and it's 6:30. And I'm like, what the hell? Why am I awake now? I can sleep another 3 hours, 4 hours. It's my time off. I need to catch up on my sleep and relax. I don't need it anymore because I'm just, I wake up and it's like, well, I might as well get up and start doing stuff. So am I sleeping less than before? Yes, but I'm not, like Eric was saying, well, I could go to bed at 1 a.m. and I could wake up at 5 and still go to the gym. No, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Steven, there's something else called the MMC. MMC stands for motor migratory complex. And that's even your digestive system is also even dependent on circadian rhythm. We didn't come up with the 8 o'clock and then 12 o'clock and then the between 4 and 6. It was our system. The liver is pretty awesome. It has that 4-hour almost rhythm in which it dumps bile. It makes a big, huge contraction of your intestines to move away and clean. People think, oh, when I eat, it's when my intestines move, which is not correct. When you eat, they do move, but in between meals, your intestines are moving, but the big one is every 4 hours. And that's why sometimes I say limit your meals, but short amount of time when you want to do either performance or lose weight or whatever. Follow that motor migratory complex, which is way better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Eddie V in the chat box says, if I apply my scrotal cream in the evening, testosterone cream, that affects my sleep. So he wakes up early, unrefreshed. Can I take the full dose in the morning instead or twice a day? And Wakid Janjua replied to that. Maybe take GABA 5-HTP. What is your experience with the dosing of the?
I'm going to totally disagree with Anthony. Okay, that's like treating one side effect with another something else. In medicine, Stephen, you know that once you go above 2 medications, the next medication is to treat a side effect of the other 2 medications. So if the testosterone is not letting you go to bed early or is waking you up or whatever, is affecting your sleep, then move it. There's no rule that says you have to do it every 12 hours. Now, let me explain something. In androgen, I'm going to talk specific on the androgen because the research is there. It peaks pretty fast, okay? And it lasts about 100 minutes. People do not know that at high levels, and then it starts dropping up. So, okay, of course, versus over the scrotum, the absorption is a little longer, blah, blah, blah. But you can take it, let's do it in the morning and then do it at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? When you get home before dinner, by the time you get to bed, you should be able to go get to bed. Now, if you say, I do it at 6, I'm still staying up, then increase the dosage in the morning. Apply 1.5 cc's or the concentration, that whatever concentration you're using, increase it, and then still don't use it at night. So, no, I do not want to treat. I have a reason why I'm not sleeping. Let me eliminate that reason, and then I try something else.
Mm-hmm. I agree, yeah. Danny, anything to add?
Yeah, there was a couple of guys in the group, the same thing. They said, Dr. Nichols said to take it twice a day, and I take it at night. I find I have a hard time sleeping. Almost acts as a stimulant for me or whatever. And they just take the whole thing in the morning, and that's it.
No problem with that.
No big deal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Another question was, how long does it typically take for edema to subside? Someone says he has swelling in the hands and ankles after protocol change.
Are they specifying which protocol, Stephen, or what?
No.
Are they talking about? What are they specifically they're talking about? You don't know?
It was a question in our group. I can't ask now.
Okay, I'm assuming they're talking about either testosterone injection or new starting testosterone. Okay, as a physician, I got to look at this. Okay, I got to look at why are you having water retention? Testosterone doesn't just make you just have water retention. What is the reason? Are you eating salt all the time? Are you eating a lot of carbohydrates? Do you have diabetes? Et cetera, et cetera. I got to look at the reasons why. Now, there's some people, of course, always that I see a lot more with the injection, by the way, Stephen, or even with Sustanon, or even with other ergogenic aids in which you retain water. Rarely do I see it with gel, and I have seen them, but very rarely. And usually I will find out why they're retention. Sometimes those people believe it or not, they don't consume enough potassium because they're eating so much foods that are just not good for them. And in nature, nothing has more sodium than potassium. In nature, everything has more potassium than sodium. People do not know that. And if you look at fruit, vegetables, anything, everything has more potassium. The only thing that has more sodium and potassium is your blood. That's why when we do the Chem 7, sodium is 137, blah, 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 blah. But yes, we're measuring only a picture of your blood. The cells are a whole different animal. There's more potassium than the sodium to be able to do that. So be aware of that. If you're consuming a lot of sodium, a lot of commercial stuff, processed food, then you might retain more water than usual. Also, believe it or not, this is kind of interesting. When you're competing and you're a bodybuilder and you stop drinking water, okay, and then you go eat after you're done, you look like a freaking balloon, because the water retention and the salt, but it's more spill. Also, carbohydrates hold about 4 grams of water per 1 gram of carbohydrates. So what are you doing? I don't want to say that the testosterone didn't do it. It can make it worse because, of course, testosterone is an anabolic steroid. But I doubt that is the reason why.
Eric, I have seen a bunch of guys in the group and even other forums that have mentioned when they make a change to their protocol, either they increase their dose or they stop taking their AI or they started HCG or they got off HCG, that they bloat.
Yes.
They have water weight, and after a couple of weeks, it just kind of subsides on their own as long as they stick to it. Could it just be at that temporary fluctuation in hormones?
That's what I'm saying. So you change from gel to shots or shots. Yeah, I can see that, but that doesn't stay there all the time, Danny. Now, if that person keeps saying over and over and over, something else is going on. It's not the testosterone only.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay. I'm looking through the questions that we already got in the chat box. Someone asked exactly, when switching from injections to transscrotal cream, is there a drop in testosterone while your body is switching the way you take testosterone?
I have a lot of experience with that, actually. Testosterone will give you higher peak levels injections, will give you higher peak levels than the cream. Of course, that depends on the amount of quantity that you're injecting, because if you're injecting 10 milligrams, of course, and you're taking 200 milligrams of testosterone, it doesn't do it. I'm going to talk about in general terms, 1 cc of testosterone, 200 milligrams, okay? So if you inject that and you use the gel, absolutely, the testosterone will give you higher levels much promptly. Also, and again, it depends what you're using on the cream. If you're using a fake, I don't know which kind of testosterone, you can put other things on the cream, but if you're taking testosterone that is bioidentical, the levels are so absolutely different than the one when you're using cypionate or enanthenate or sostanone or something else, or propionate. Actually, propionate, which is a water-based, and I know that people don't use that, or some people do, will give you very high peak levels, but then it drops very fast. So be aware of that. It depends what you're using. Danny, what do you think of all that?
Don't really have anything to add. I mean, Dr. Nichols has said that he's gotten guys, free T in particular, really, really high just with that scrotal cream, way more than the injections now. And he's also said that there's no real conversion formula between injections and cream. So you can't really compare, I was doing 200 milligrams of injections.
I agree.
What would be the exact equivalent in cream? I'm not quite sure how that would calculate. Apparently there is no formula. So how do we really compare apples to apples there?
You can't. You cannot.
Yeah, and when you're talking about cream, are you talking specifically scrotal, or are you talking even just cream?
It depends where you put it. That's what I'm saying. You don't even know. It depends in which oil, because Steven, if you use rapeseed oil, or you use flaxseed oil, whatever oil, sesame oil will give you a better clean. So it just depends. So you do not know. I had never been able to calculate the cream is going to be based on the shot. I never done that. So maybe it is possible, but I do not know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I see myself in the corner.
Well, Russ joined. We hear you, Russ. We see you.
Can you hear me okay?
We see
move
and
your
hear
camera
you.
up a bit. We only see your nose and your mouth.
You're such a ball buster, Danny.
No, but there's only enough room for one Italian schnoz in this podcast, and now there's two. Okay, so move your camera up a little higher.
Is that better?
It's better.
Ball buster? My man?
Okay, welcome, Russ.
Thank you.
We kept your questions about cardiovascular things for last till you joined us. So don't worry, we already talked about some other stuff. I have
Okay, good.
I have one more topic that I found very interesting as well. Someone asked me, are there any supplements we should not take in together? For example, I take a whole bunch in the morning, like omega-3s, vitamin D, vitamin K, boron, Q10, etc. And in the evening, I take my creatine, magnesium, NAC, etc. Is there anything we should not take together? And are there supplements that we should take at the same moment for benefits? What's your opinion, Eric?
Okay, I love this question because actually, yes, there are things that you should take with meals. There are things that you shouldn't take. For example, creatine should not be taken before workouts, and this is going to go against what a lot of people say. And let me tell you why. I have experience with people with creatine, a lot of experience. By the way, we was using horses before everybody was using it, and creatine used before can give you lower leg cramps. And I know that people deny that, but it's absolutely. I have seen it. I've been paid to go look at a team that had cramps, and then when I get there, before they got onto the field, they were taking creatine. So the first thing is make sure that your creatine is not taken before your workouts. You can do it after your workouts, and it will be better for you. Now about taking food, about taking vitamins. Usually, I will take those with absolutely food. Okay, especially their fat soluble vitamins. If you're taking vitamins, the fat soluble vitamins, I want you guys taking it together. A, D, E, and K. They actually help each other being absorbed. People don't even know this. Copper helps iron. Vitamin C helps iron. So it depends what you're doing for supplements. What is the reason why? Now, boron, believe it or not, helps the absorption of magnesium, okay, and helps the absorption of vitamin D. Now, do I need to take it all together? Yeah, it is better if you take it together vitamin-wise. Now, let me give you an example. Fats and proteins. Absolutely, you should consume fats and proteins together. The only thing you want to consume by itself is you're taking free-form amino acids. Now, you're taking free-form amino acids, I want an empty stomach. I don't want it with anything else. Now, N-acetylcysteine, they're asking for that. In combination with glutathione and things like that, I don't mind doing it. Now, again, vitamin C, iron together because the absorption is better, but it depends on the condition of the disease that you're working with or what you're using them for. So that's my endpoint. I want to also add this. A lot of people are using in the supplements high pairing or something to increase the absorption of the supplement. I'm sure you guys seen that, right? When they use a special, okay. Before they do that, before they add that to your supplement, and I had a company that hired me and they wanted to use it, and I refused to be part of it. And they go, why? Why would you refuse? This increases the absorption, especially it's used with curcumin a lot, or increases the absorption of curcumin. Well, I said, yes, I do know that, but what does this do to the body? How do it increases the absorption of curcumin? And when they asked the pharmaceutical company, they didn't know. I said, well, I have a few nice papers, and this is what happens. It stops phase 3 detoxification. It stops a molecule called the OAT, O-A-T. It's a special protein that works like a revolving door on the cell. So when you take this, it stops that revolving door, and curcumin comes in, so it doesn't come out. So the absorption is higher. But I don't know if you want to do that because there's so many toxins out there. You don't want to mess with it. So be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Something
Okay.
I could add to that really quick. You wouldn't believe how many guys I talk to that they say, I do intermittent fasting and I only have one meal a day. I eat at supper and I eat a lot, but I wake up and I don't have anything till dinner, but I take all my vitamins when I wake up and I take my hormones when I wake up. And I'm like, you're taking all your vitamins when you wake up in a fasted state on an empty stomach and you don't eat till dinner. Yeah. And I'm like, you ain't absorbing any of this. So,
I wouldn't do that. That would kind of make me sick. I prefer to eat. I mean, you might have coffee with cream or butter and do it that way, but don't do it empty stomach.
Yeah.
The body was to mean synergistic, absorb things together. So that's why.
Mm-hmm.
Ross, do you have anything to add?
I think one of the things, Eric, I look at the outliers and everybody's biochemically unique, and I deal with some really sick people. So I want to look at multiple metabolic pathways And first, look at the intestinal tract, which is ground zero. I rather a person that's sick with dementia, for example, pull nutrients out of real food than synthetic vitamins without the cofactors.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
So a lot of our testing for nutritional, hormonal, amino acid deficiencies, we start out with looking at the imbalances in the microbiome, because we know that, you know, a lot of the synthetic supplements are not absorbed with the first pass through the liver. So we use sublingual, injectable, we use IV nutritionals, because again, a lot of our people are in really bad shape. So what I see, it's current trending right now, I see the functional food market is going to be trending a lot more and be a lot more beneficial than the synthetic vitamin market. And that's just my opinion, guys.
Which kind of testing are you using for the microbiome, Ross?
We're using organic acid testing.
So, oh no, but I'm saying for the specific, are you doing stool testing or not for the microbiome? Which one are you doing?
Yeah, we're doing the urine and the stool testing. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, let's switch to another topic, one that Russ brought on. So why do bodybuilders and endurance athletes have more cardiovascular problems and heart attacks? And is there anything we can do to prevent this?
I'm going to let Ross answer first, but then I'm going to give my personal opinion on that.
Okay, go at it.
Yeah,
Russ.
one of the things we found out over the years, guys, is that I immersed myself as an endurance athlete for 20 years, racing around the country, and I immersed myself in the field of bodybuilding for another 15 years. And we know that heart disease is the #1 killer. And I started looking at why endurance athletes that are very fit, why are they having stents, bypass? Okay, why are they having heart attacks? Then while I was in the bodybuilding community working in an imaging center, I got to do the same thing. I got to run lab work. And one of the things that we know what blocks the arteries over time, it's multifactorial. Could be elevated cortisol, low testosterone, but the similarities between the bodybuilders and the endurance athletes is eating 6 times a day, high calories, raising insulin levels, the standard American diet, raising the pro-inflammatory response, the damage of the endothelial lining from oxidative stress and elevated blood glucose. This is where the blockages start. You know, if we look at this at 60,000 feet. So depending on the group that I'm with, when we're looking at endothelial dysfunction and what's really blocking the arteries, whether it's lipid subfractionalization, we need to look at. We know that cholesterol testing really doesn't tell us a lot. So again, each individual case is different. But what I've seen is the high amount of calories in the endurance athletes and the training keeps them in a pro-inflammatory response. The last 10 bodybuilders that have died of heart attacks, you could look at anything from cardiomyopathy to drug use to elevated insulin, IGF-1, elevated mTOR, even accelerating the cancer process. So without pointing a finger at each group, a lot of this training is just unhealthy. Maintaining 20, 30 pounds of muscle mass can be as bad as carrying 30 pounds of extra fat. Crossing the finish line of the New York City Marathon in under 3 hours, that may be healthy to some people, to the runners, but in reality, it's really damaging the body over time, including the brain chemistry. So that's just an overall view, Eric. I know you got more to add.
Okay, I have a lot more to. I'm going to agree and disagree with Ross. I love this. Okay, now I don't think that the muscle is a problem. It's how artificially enhanced that muscle has got there. One, two is Ross is much nicer than I am. I don't give a shit. Stupidity. These people train. Oh, I train so hard, I run. I'm going to eat whatever I want. And what I discussed before, it doesn't matter how much exercise you do. Eating is the basics. Just think about it. You can take drugs, you can take chemicals, but your cells are made of what you eat. And if you eat shit, your body becomes shit. It doesn't matter how much you train. Now, bodybuilders are one of the rare breeds, and they made me what I am today, but they are stupid as hell. They take average of 13, 14 different drugs to compete, which is insane. That will increase your chance of other things. I agree with Ross when they eat 5 to 6 meals a day. That is the most asinine, stupid recommendation that I ever heard. I was one of those stupid guys. Oh, eat 6 times a day. Well, if you're taking 10 pounds of steroids, you can eat 6 times a day. Now, I want to bring something that Ross said, cholesterol. I agree with Ross absolutely and totally. Cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease. Now, people think that statins are, well, if you don't read the literature, because if you truly read the literature, statins don't do shit with cholesterol. They lower that, but that's not the reason why save life. But I'm going to go into a tangent right here. If I take a plaque, Danny, Stevens, if I take a plaque and I take a biopsy of that plaque, and that is done now with ultrasound technique, and I look at that plaque and I say, yes, this inflammation, well, what's causing that inflammation? Well, it's funny, people don't know this, but in that plaque, you can find yeast, you can find chlamydia. Those are the number 2 found organisms. And H. pylori, you can find them in there too, but yeast is very high. And statins are very, very, very powerful antifungal drugs. I know you guys don't believe me, but look at the research. Just put in Google statins and antifungal, and it's going to pop out tons of research on it. So if statins help you because they lower your cholesterol, no. If statins helping you because of antifungal, I think that's the reason why they help you. Now, about the inflammation, I absolutely agree with Ross. These people are overtraining. They don't sleep correctly. They don't eat correctly. They're going to train 5, 6, 7 times a week. Even God rested the 7th day. Even the most powerful being said, hey, I'm going to take a rest day. Well, these stupid people, I'm going to work out every day. Ross, I agree with you there. They're dumbasses. Oh, I'm going to train. No, that will cause inflammation. You need to give the body rest to recover.
No, that's great. I'm glad that you said that, Eric. I deal with a lot of professional athletes, and whether they want to climb K2 or they want to run the New York City Marathon in sub 3 hours, I try to drip the science on them, just like you said, because that's their goal. And at the same time, they're causing a lot of trauma to their body at the cellular level, and it's always that fine line to keep somebody motivated. And then really, like you, I have no problem telling somebody they need to quit or they're going to die, because a lot of the endurance athletes have already had heart attacks and arrhythmias, and I documented why that happened. And I just show them a 3-minute video on physiologically what's going on in their heart. And, a lot of the bodybuilders that look in the mirror that are considered about size, they never really think of the cardiomyopathy that's going on when they're injecting those anabolics. They don't think about their heart muscle. And hell, I'm like you. I don't want to see anybody kick the bucket if I could help it, right?
I want to say this. Cardiovascularly, the heart responds different to aerobics. You get more vascularity in the heart, and your chambers get bigger, and your response to the amount of pumping. For example, one of my patients, his heart rate is 28. So it's 28 beats for which is insane, super low, right? And then there's the bodybuilder that have a huge heart because the amount of drugs or Bossa maneuver. But if I do an EKG on Steven, Danny, and myself, we're all going to have enlarged hearts. And the reason for that is because when we're pumping and we're lifting heavy weights, we're holding our breath and we're creating Bossa maneuvers, which increases the size of the heart, which actually is not bad. There's something called physiological response to a workout, and there's the pathological response, because when you're working out, your heart has to get bigger because it has to pump against a bigger mass, of course. So that's what happens. Now, I want to say this. When I was in school, I was doing research on leg presses and measuring blood pressures. Steven, do you know any idea how high your blood pressure goes when you do a leg press? A heavy leg press. Do you know?
180?
Danny?
Don't know.
Ross, do you know?
I would say 240 over 120.
Shit, I had to go get a special blood pressure cuff. The highest guy was 349 over 180. And actually, one of my professors measured at 420 over 180. So the blood pressure, that's insane. The blood pressures go up really, really high during that workout. If you guys want to try this, start squatting or start doing a leg press and tell me what happens to your blood pressure. It's going to go way, way high, even doing it in a normal cuff. Sometimes you can't even measure because it depends on the amount of weight. And the heart is laying down, of course, and all that stuff. But it's insane how high the blood pressure goes. Now, I will tell you this. If I have a heart attack, I prefer to have a larger heart because what happens? I lose part of my muscle. Now my heart that is bigger can withstand that heart attack. So be aware of that. And I agree with Ross. People, cardiovascular athletes are having heart attacks. What? Ross, how can you dare to say that? That's against the doctors. Cardiovascular aerobics, that is the key to your heart. And you know, it's kind of funny. I got to tell you a little story how cardiovascular was invented many years ago on the Ross time when Ross was young, right? And when I was young, a person had a heart attack, right, Danny? And you stay, I'm not making this up, for 4 to 6 weeks in the hospital when you had a heart attack. And they kept you there for that long because the reason was, you know, you I don't know what to do with you. You have the heart attack. We didn't have, you know, the pacemaker. We didn't have any of that crap. So we'll send you home in a wheelchair. We walk you to the taxi. We put you in the car. So Dr. Cooper said, my God, what the hell? This guy had to go walk. So how can I fix this? Well, I'm going to fix it. Of course, everyone has to walk. I'm going to do it slowly. I'm going to start doing that. That's how aerobics really started.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Russ.
Oh, no. Dr. Cooper started the running movement exactly like you said.
It is crazy. And that's how they really started this. It was nothing because it protected the heart. It's because that was the only thing that they were available to start you walk, you know, something you have to do.
Right.
Now, it's kind of funny. Steven, Danny, do you know when most heart attacks happen? Do you guys know?
In the morning, waking up.
Yeah.
Yes. What
mornings. Mondays.
That's because you're going to be stressed. You're going to deal with stress, and it happens. I remember working in the ER Monday mornings. I hated it because that's when they all come, you know. But that makes your life interesting. But that's correct. And the reason stress is another component that we forget about that makes a massive difference. And like Rose said, you have the stress, physical, emotional, genetical. You know, it's insane what happens when you start training like a stupid man. So absolutely.
How are these guys putting on, you know, let's say you take these bodybuilders that have to put on, you know, 60, 70 pounds of muscle. How are these guys putting on that amount of muscle? Yes, they're taking all the anabolics, but they need the calories. How would they go about doing this in a healthy way without necessarily eating 5 to 6 times a day?
That's an oxymoron statement.
I don't think, yeah.
Danny said healthy way. There's no bodybuilding and healthy. That doesn't go together, Danny.
Healthy-ish. The most healthy possible.
I say that. These people are stupid. They have to eat 6 to 7 times a day. You can consume. Even when I was competing at one point in my life, and I would never do bodybuilding, I did powerlifting, I would eat a lot, but I would sit there, I get so stuffed that my belly hurt, and I couldn't eat 10,000. I'm telling you right now, I couldn't eat 10,000 calories. It was impossible for me. I don't know if Russ can do it, but I cannot do it.
No, I think a lot of these guys now are using insulin that I see in IGF-1. And there's, you know, if you stay in the anabolic state, if you stay with elevated mTOR and you increase vascular endothelial growth factor and you have a lot of environmental toxins, that can be the perfect storm for cancer as well.
Absolutely. You know, God gave you, this is how important insulin is. There's only one hormone, only one that lowers truly sugar. Okay, but there's 5 hormones that increase. GLP-1 does it secondarily, doesn't do it directly, but insulin is the only one that works directly and lowers it. But cortisol does it, epinephrine does it, glucagon does it, GH does it. All these hormones will actually increase sugars. Insulin is the only one that lowers it, which is crazy. Only one. Now, most people do not know this, Ross. People say you always need insulin to absorb glucose. Is that true or false? No, you don't. The most abundant receptors to absorb sugar are called sodium glucose dependent, or NASGLT1 and 2. Now there's drugs to block NAGLS2, but the brain requires insulin. Yes, the brain does. The muscle does, and the fat does. The rest of the body, they don't need insulin.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. So Russ wanted to talk about what kind of hormonal therapy that man need to prevent this cardiovascular disease. Russ?
Yeah, I think one of the things we got to think about is, like Eric said, the physical, mental, and emotional stress response can be very damaging. And understand this, I work with war veterans, EMS personnel, people in high stress environments, and their amygdala could actually become enlarged from working in a high stress environment. Your amygdala can get enlarged and your prefrontal cortex, your decision-making process, can shrink. With the elevated cortisol can damage the hippocampus and damage short-term memory. So there's a lot of hormonal responses that start in the brain. And what we can glean from that is a regular guy on TRT may have to adjust his dosing depending on the stress he's going through, whether he lost a job, whether he's going through a divorce, or whether he lost a loved one. All that will impact his dosing, all that will impact his microbiome, and all that will impact the feel-good neurotransmitters in his brain. So what we can glean from that is stress. If we study Sapolsky out of Stanford that wrote the book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, we know that psychoneuroimmunology, your immediate friendships and the stress you're under, can compromise and suppress multiple metabolic and hormonal systems of the body.
Now the question, Steve, I'm going to stick with Ross asked what hormones. The worst hormone for cardiovascular disease is insulin. Absolutely the worst. It's the one that will respond more to inflammation. So for cardioprotective, being testosterone is absolutely excellent. I don't think I've ever seen GH protecting you against heart disease. Melatonin helps as a protection mechanism also for hormonal issues. But now it all depends, like Ross said, it depends on the case. I mean, I will say this, people do not know this either. There's no drug, insulin or any diabetic drug that lowers mortality. I don't know if you guys know this. Do you guys know this? No drug in diabetes lowers your chance of dying. So that tells you something. As soon as you get elevated insulin or your body's out of whack because diabetes, your chance of dying of heart attacks, everything increases 100%.
Exactly.
It's crazy. Infections, vision, kidney, whatever. So the key and most powerful hormone of all of them is insulin, by far. You need to control insulin. Now, inflammation causes insulin to go up, stress causes insulin to go up, all those things. Now, Danny asked me a question about earthing, which is funny because actually earthing in 2 papers are shown to decrease insulin levels. I mean, when you walk outside on the grass and you look like, a little princess walking on the grass, you're having a good time. I mean, I think that will also lower your levels. But yes, I mean, insulin is the secret to survive. The only way you can extend life, proven, hasn't been no hormone, hasn't been nothing. It's actually, quote unquote, lower your caloric intake or manipulating restriction of calories, which affects insulin, absolutely.
I love that. I love what Eric just said. This is why the ketogenic diet, keeping insulin low, combined with TRT, Stephen, that we talked about, affects the mitochondria on the cellular level. And when you start introducing the fat molecule or the ketone called beta-hydroxybutyrate, and you use that for ATP at the cellular level, you're going to produce less oxygen radical species and less insulin and less cortisol. And that's sort of what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. Next question was, can we increase cardiovascular performance with TRT?
Yeah, I think one of the benefits, like myself, I raced as a triathlete for 20 years. I started testing athletes in 1996. A lot of the endurance athletes that went on TRT because of the testosterone receptors, the elevated nitric oxide and vascular dilation from optimizing your T levels. For me, it was life-saving. Actually, it took me about 3 years to rehab my body and to optimize my thyroid, my adrenal glands, my intestinal tract from too much of the standard American diet. And then I had to quit the sport basically and get back in the weight room, which was, tough to wrap my head around as well, because that was my community. We all gravitate towards our community that we think is healthy. And that triathlon community for me, even though I was testing everybody, became very unhealthy and I had to dial everything back. So when you come off of long distance marathon, you come off the Tour de France, you'll see really soon part of the rehab process will be TRT and optimizing the HPA-G axis after a traumatic race like that. And what we can glean from the mountain climbers is, they spend time at base camp. Why? To adjust their hemoglobin and hematocrit. So after a mountain climber climbs K2, he comes back down, he rests, he does his diet, he tweaks everything. He incorporates intermittent fasting. I mean, these guys really understand the physiology when they're mountain climbers, because if they get to the top and they're not acclimated, they could die. So there's a lot of good research coming out there about TRT rehab in the body of endurance athletes and regular fast twitch muscle athletes in their 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Well, the biggest key right there, actually, these cardiovascular athletes, what do they want to do? They want to breathe better on a machinery, basically. Now, testosterone increases cardiovascular endurance sports, two reasons. One is you do have more muscle. Okay, you have a bigger engine, you can move faster. Number two is, what is the biggest side effect of testosterone? Increased hemoglobin, hematocrit. So which helps you carry more oxygen, okay? That's why people train on the mountains, because there's less oxygen. So what happens to your hemoglobin? It goes up, okay? So people do not know that, but they should know that. So what do they do? Okay, I'm going to take testosterone, which increases my hemoglobin anyway. Now I have a higher capacity to carry oxygen, which makes me train harder and longer, which is pretty easy to answer. Another thing that testosterone does in women specifically and in men increases the absorption of iron. That's how the increase of actually oxy or hemoglobin goes up. So there are 3 reasons right there how testosterone helps you. Number 4, guess what? When I'm in testosterone, I have less chance of getting hurt. You have more muscle. Okay, so that's another reason why. Your recovery, number 5, you recover faster, so you can train more often. Easy answer.
Right, exactly.
Almost all endurance athletes, I think, like marathon runners, triathletes, they have very high insulin because of all the stress. So that lowers their testosterone. So they always have a reason to be on TOT. Is that a good reasoning?
Yeah, a lot of the athletes. I'm sorry, Eric. Go ahead, brother.
No, I don't agree with Stephen there lowering insulin. Testosterone has not shown to lower insulin, but it has shown to lower the need for insulin. I don't know if it totally lowers insulin. I don't want to say that, Stephen. Now, as you gain more muscle, you require less insulin to work on your body, of course. So I don't know, is that the right statement? But yes, the necessity for the insulin is better when you use testosterone. Absolutely. Now, I mean, again, I hope that answers that question of the testosterone insulin there. I don't think it lowers insulin. It lowers the need for the insulin, which eventually then lowers insulin.
Eric, I think he meant more the opposite of when you're in that high stress, your insulin levels tend to spike, cortisol tends to spike. Is adding TRT help that?
Yes, absolutely it does. So he's correct on that.
I think testosterone blocks the cortisol receptor sites, if I remember the study, Eric. I'm not sure.
No, you're correct. You're correct, Russ.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I went through all that stuff myself, and I was really sick. I mean, I thought, I had pre-race depression. I would cross the finish line of a 5-hour race. I swam 13 miles around the Keys. I couldn't get an erection for 6 months. And here I am thinking I'm healthy, right? That was in, you know what I mean? I think every one of us go through a journey.
Russ, and that's why you lost your hair.
So bad that we finally partner with people that understand, and they become our family. Because I had nobody. I've been to the best research labs in the country, and they're all telling me, we can't help you. I'm like, holy shit, am I dead? I'm just saying, right? And then I started testing other athletes, and I said, okay, in 2006, I got a handle on this stuff. I said, listen, you guys got to do TRT, and you got to do periodization training. If you don't take a break, you're going to either, and I have a lot of athletes, Eric, right now that ended up with cancer. I mean, I tracked 8-hydroxy-2-deoxyguanosine in urine samples 10 years ago, and they're in cancer clinical trials right now, and a lot of that comes from overtraining. That was heartbreaking for me to watch.
Okay, I want to explain something that Ross was talking about. It's called ADH, or it is a marker for DNA damage, basically. That's what he's talking about. And he is right. The higher this is, the worse it is. So be aware of that. And sometimes people working out too much is no good, and you do have increased levels, and you measure that through, I'm assuming you were measuring with urine, right? Correct, Ross? Well, how were you doing?
I measure it with urine. Another interesting thing I found out, Eric, is the endurance athletes with elevated cortisol had low omega-3 fat gamma linoleic acid. Interesting.
Yes, I agree with that too. Most of them have the stupid belief that the skinnier they are, the better they are. And if you see a marathon runner, you don't see any of them being overweight, but they're actually skinny with no muscle. So, and those people need to find out, hey, I need to eat more fat because a marathon runner doesn't really use carbohydrates. A marathon runner uses fat. Of course, everybody uses some carbohydrates, but the majority is fat.
Exactly.
Okay. Why are cardiovascular problems and heart attacks getting less media attention than, for example, breast cancer?
That's a
Yeah, I think in the New York Times, there was a recent article just a couple of days ago. I was reading it with Vicky that says now across the world, the #1 killer heart disease is making a big comeback and it's hitting people in their 30s. Well, we know with diabetes and diabetes and obesity that their arteries are getting blocked in their 30s now because it's very clear why this is happening. Another early adapting process that Eric will get, 40,000 women die of breast cancer every year, but 500,000 die of heart attacks with the first sign being sudden death. And where is the red ribbon for women's heart disease? We don't see it. You know, I think there's a great opportunity there for somebody, guys.
Well, Stephen, let me answer that question. What creates more news? You got a heart attack, you die. There's nothing to feel sorry for you. Or a woman that has breast cancer, or even a man, oh, he had breast cancer. Look at all the suffering, no eating, the chemotherapy. There's more news or more things to see. But once you have the heart attack, you're dead. You're done. I cannot talk to you. I cannot make money off you. You're dead. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to make more money for something that I can speak about, something that I can talk to, and people eat feeling sorry for you, you know? And that's why there's more attention, more press to breast cancer. And in actuality, you know, what drugs can you use for heart attacks, Stephen? Just the usual beta blockers, you know, the TPOs or something like that. That's all you can use. But for breast cancer, what drugs can you use, Stephen? Many. And there's a lot of money on drugs when you can treat cancer.
Good point. Exactly.
So simple. Yeah. Okay. Another question. We have 4 more questions from the chat box for the moment. What does Eric recommend to take to improve gut biome? Metformin, probiotics, other supplements?
Woof! Ross is going to eat me for this one. What do I recommend to eat for biome, specifically for the microbiome? Well, I want to talk about the microbiome because it's one of my favorite subjects. One of my good friends, his name is Dr. Alex Vasquez, which is brutal on microbiome. His knowledge is beyond comprehension. But microbiome just change by just walking down the grass and relaxing. That would change your microbiome. And let me tell you why I say that. If I do a student analysis, and I had done it in my office, I do a student analysis of a person in the morning, I send the specimen to the same lab, and I send a second specimen in the afternoon, and I completely get different biome. Okay? So be aware of that. Stress changes biome. Water changes biome. Everything absolutely affects our biome. Another thing I have against just biome, which one is the #1 or most abundant biome? It is not bacteria, it are viruses. Okay? And for us so far right now, to measure our, what they call PHAGs, or PHAGES, is very hard for us to do it. Now they're starting to do it. So the microbiome will change with any attitude that you can do. Actually, you can take a patient, piss them off, and the microbiome might change. Of that. Now, foods to change the microbiome, that depends. For me, I'm not going to choose the foods that you're going to eat based on the microbiome only. Again, for me, disease state. How much money are you making? What are your goals? What are you training for? Genetics. I got to look at all that before I tell you what you're going to eat. Now, if you're talking about me changing the microbiome because I have a specific disease, for example, there's something called Mycobacterium avium on people with ulcerative colitis. And this will help you, Stephen, if you get a case like this. People do not know this, but in ulcerative colitis, if you do biopsies of the cells, 89% of the cells have something called Mycobacterium avium, which is an intracellular bacteria or organism. And when you use a linea, and I'm not making any money, I'm just telling you, or anti-parasite, almost, it will help your symptoms tremendously. So there are absolutely infections out there that you want to treat. Now, do I treat the microbiome and do I give you bacteria? I do it, but in very, very specific places. There are different sources of microbiome. One is the HSO or health soil organism, come from the apples. There's spores, which are spores, and then the normal ones that you usually buy all the time. For me, I'm very, very careful with that. Sometimes I would treat a patient, cleaning it up, start again, and then reintroduce. But I don't use food only just, oh, I'm going to manipulate the microbiome. I got to be very, very careful. I use a lot of enzymes. That I use a lot, and a lot of bile. And the reason I use a lot of bile is because the bile cleans the intestine. It's actually a detergent. That's why detergent was created, because the bile. So I'm very, very careful manipulating the microbiome. I have to have specific reasons, and I will do it, but it depends when, how, and why.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You agree?
Ross, what do you think of that?
Yeah, the microbiome is as different as your fingerprint. Like Eric said, you can't use sweeping generalizations when you're face-to-face with the patient. You got to do a due diligence. You got to get your stuff together if you're going to find that serial killer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question. Does metformin make you tired? Because someone says he started taking metformin about a week ago and found himself sometimes very tired in the afternoons, more than normal. And he's also on TRT.
Danny Bossa, I want to hear what you have to say about this.
Well, guys, if it's lowering his blood sugar too much, he's going to get tired. No?
Okay. I have something to say about this, and I sent Danny
Of course
papers.
you do.
Okay.
Is it lowered as B12?
Metformin, no, it's not only B12. This is funny.
Eric, are you going to talk about what we talked about the other day?
Yes,
About camp?
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
absolutely. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, but this is different though. That was in regards to endurance and performance and whatever. This guy is saying, I just feel tired.
Well, wait a second. What if it affects your mitochondria? Will you feel tired or not?
Yes.
Absolutely, is the main fuel. Okay, metformin is a great drug for the right person. About everybody being metformin, absolutely not. I cannot remember somebody was taking metformin but was taking a supplement 5. Oh my God, what he was taking? Well, metformin affects your mitochondria and affects one level of one specific element of the electron transport chain. Okay, and when you do that, you can get tired. So for metformin, it's actually slightly toxic to the mitochondria. I have a lot of research specifically what it is. Now, Russ brought a great point. It lowers B12. I don't think this is happening to this guy because it happens every morning. And so this guy is being affected physically right there. Now, metformin works by changing the microbiome. So the question for this person is it because A, it's affecting your microbiome? 2, is it because affecting your sugars, like Danny said? But metformin doesn't typically lower your sugars like that. It works on the chronic sugars. 3, it's a lowering like your cyclic AMP in your mitochondria, and that's why you feel fatigue. Or in this case, if I were that guy, I would completely stop it and I would not use it at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Another question was, we're almost there, guys. Is L-carnitine supplement safe on the ketogenic diet? That's something for Russ, I guess.
Well, I think, one of the things, everybody's biochemically unique. Everybody responds to the ketogenic diet differently. I just started the RussScala.com webpage so people could download the ketogenic diet for free. But I tell them in a 14-page document, it may not work for you, right? Now, we know at the level of the mitochondria that carnitine is very important. If we could, at the level of the mitochondria, if we could use beta-hydroxybutyrate, the ketone, it will be used more efficiently to create ATP than glucose. But again, not in all cells. So, do you want to activate the mitochondria in the brain, or are you using this to dial back for weight loss? So we've got to figure out what the individual wants. You know what I mean?
Okay. It is believed that the brain doesn't use fatty acids, but the brain absorbs some fatty acids. Now, you prefer ketones. They're easy to go through the blood-brain barrier. Now, carnitine is the little boss that takes the fat into the mitochondria, basically. So carnitine is the transporter from the outside of the mitochondria to bring it into the inside, and then malonyl-CoA takes over. Now, Is L-carnitine efficient for ketogenic diet? I think it's a most, because it helps you burn fat, basically. So I would do it. Now, L-carnitine works better using it 3 times a day, at least on the literature. It says that. Now, L-carnitine is getting a bad press now, Stephen, because TMAO. I don't know, are you guys familiar with TMAO? You guys know what that is?
No.
Okay. In Cleveland Clinic, they're measuring this. A guy that invented a test that measures something called capital T, capital M, capital A, capital O. Okay. And supposedly meat increases the level of this, which is true, but it's funny because fish does it more, but they're stupid. They don't know that. Maybe they're listening to Steven and they know that. Okay. TMAO is produced by the microbiome. And here comes Ross again. TMAO is produced by the microbiome. And Ross, I have a lot of research on it, but TMAO is also associated with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. What they do not know, and I want to tell them a little clue, is TMAO is associated with also, believe it or not, with vitamin D levels. The lower your vitamin D levels, you higher your TMAO. If you guys don't have the research, I have it for you guys. I just want to tell you guys. But they're using TMAO as a marker for heart disease, which is absolutely wrong. But if they say, oh, you're a man, of course you're going to have a heart attack, or you have TMAO, you're going to have a heart attack. No, the marker is just right there. It's just an accidental finding. It's just that you have to fix what the issues are for TMAO to be higher. So TMAO is going to be another cholesterol. It's an accidental finding that we find, but it's not the reason for the heart attack. So I just want to tell you guys that.
Right.
Okay. Before I move on to the next question, I really want to thank Ali Atapur and Tomas Tomas, who are in the chat box having a laugh. We're getting a lot of super chats. They're really enjoying the content we're bringing, guys. I just wanted them to know that I really have a ball here. Okay. And next question was from Tomas Tomas himself. So he says, what's a good protocol for fertility? TRT and HCG. What's a good protocol?
Okay, I do a lot of that. Now I use supplements also. Now for me, inflammation causes infertility. Okay, so that's one thing. Now this question is tough here because is he talking about infertility due to TRT usage? Because testosterone lowers sperm count. The WHO considers a dose of 200 milligrams injection a contraceptive for men. So is he talking about asking specific, Stephen? Is he talking about post-TRT, post-cycle therapy, or is he talking about infertility in general?
He is listening, and he also said he's 43, his wife is 38, and they're planning for a third baby. And he asked, is there anything she can do as well?
Woo! Absolutely. And Stephen, what I'm going to do is, because this guy absolutely needs help, he's old.
He says yes. He says yes after I started TRT.
Okay. Asking, is he talking about gel? Is he talking about testosterone? And how much the dose? Is he telling you or not? Okay, if he's going to do post-cycle therapy, he needs to use ACG with tamoxifen. And let me explain how that works. ACG elevates LH, so and stimulates your circulatory cells, okay, on your testicles to make sperm, okay. So circulatory cells make sperm, lady sex make testosterone, okay. So ACG affects actually both. Now tamoxifen blocks the receptor of LH, so it makes the body think that it requires more LH, so it starts increasing the LH, which makes you make more. Now, if you're going to do that, ACG is the best route. Now, depending on the length, dose, and what kind of drug you were taking, that will be my dosages. If you've been using testosterone for more than 2 years and you're taking over 400 milligrams a week, I will start about 5,000 a week of ACG with tamoxifen 20 milligrams every day. I will do that, okay? And the reason why is because I want you to get your testicles working. Now, can you continue the testosterone injections? You can, but you're going to have to lower either the dose or change to a gel, and it will actually come back. Now, I have to add zinc to that. I will have to add vitamin D because they affect your sperm count, believe it or not. Carnitine also, believe it or not, is one of the few times that I let you have fruit. You guys know what I let him have fruit? What is the main energy source for the sperm? Guys, you guys are all men. You guys got to have sperm.
Glucose, yeah.
Fructose, yeah.
Fructose.
Yeah, so that's what I would let him have, fructose, or not fructose, but fruits more, because more better sperm motility. So it depends what the reason for that is. I hope that helps. But Steven, tell him that I want to send you some research on that, and you can pass it on to him.
Okay.
Eric, you were talking about 400 milligrams a week in a PCT as if he's getting off of a cycle, maybe a bodybuilder. This is a guy doing TRT.
I don't know
Probably
how
taking
much.
He's
200
being
milligrams or less.
200 milligrams for 10 months now.
Okay, so I will use 5,000 ICU. I use of ACG for 4 to 6 weeks, then lower to 2,500 for 4 to 6 weeks, and then I'll get that sperm pretty fast. Now, if you want to check your sperm count, what you do, give yourself a shot of ACG, wait 48 hours, and then check your sperm.
5,000 as an injection once a week?
You can do it once a week, or you can do it divided 3 dosages. But if I want to, Danny had never felt this. I got a lot of bodybuilders that come to see me for this. And sometimes they lose feeling on their testicle. They say, I don't feel it. And I say, oh, really? You want to feel it? Huh? Okay, I'm going to give you a set of blue balls here pretty quick. So I have gone up to 30,000 IUs of HCG, actually, Stephen. And let me explain why. Stephen have not seen this. I have people that come to see me, Ross, taking 17 different anabolic steroids or drugs at the same time. So by the time they come to see me, they have been using it for a long time.
Right.
The testicles have not been working, and I have only failed twice in my life. One guy had a blockage, vas deferens, he couldn't come out, and the other one was born without some kind of issue. He was born, he didn't have it to make the sperms. So it depends what you're doing. How long have you been doing it, Danny, and what kind? So sometimes to stimulate the testicles, you have to go freaking high to get those started. So yes, I have gone pretty high. It just depends on the case. So do I use 500 IUs? Yes. Do I use 1,000? Yes. When I'm winning enough of the ACG, I usually lower the dosages down to 1,000 and then 500 for 4 weeks, and then I stop it because I want your testicles to work on their own. But it depends case by case.
They say that testosterone is a good, fertility killer for men. But the guys that say, well, I'm just going to get on TRT and, I won't get my wife pregnant. You know what you call those types of guys?
Stupid.
You call them fathers. Because I know a lot of guys that are on TRT and like, I got my wife pregnant. I got my girlfriend pregnant. I got my mistress pregnant. How did it happen? I'm on TRT. It doesn't mean anything. It only takes one, guys. To answer the other guy's question, I was on TRT for 3 years. And then I got remarried in 2017, and she wanted to have a child, and I got on 500 IU of HCG 3 times a week. HCG did not agree with me whatsoever. I felt rotten on the stuff. I dropped it down to 500 IU twice a week. In regards to her, it was taking a while for it to happen, and then we were saying, well, I got tested, I seem fine, I'm on the HCG. She started supplementing with progesterone because she found that her progesterone levels were low. And once she did that, literally a month later, she was pregnant. So,
like I said, it depends case by case. So that's what I'm saying. I can even use N-acetylcysteine. I don't know if you guys know N-acetylcysteine increases sperm. So it depends what I'm doing, what the patient has, or what I'm working with.
Mm-hmm. And the other question: what can his wife do extra?
Absolutely start project. I mean, does his wife has PCOS, or do they have children before? That's another question because
they're trying for their 3rd baby, so they have to.
Okay, so okay, same wife. Okay, then I will make sure that the progesterone, like Danny said, they're normal. 2 is I will make sure that actually, believe it or not, this is one of the few times that I will stop wheat, dairy, and peanuts. Danny, this is a big one. I got to talk about this. Russ might agree with me. Russ told me today that he had no food allergies. I almost puked when
I told
Danny
you that
said,
today.
Danny,
No. I didn't say I don't have any. I said there are
none
that I'm aware of. Yes.
Yeah, Danny said that he didn't know if he had food allergies. And I laughed so hard. Russ, have you ever met somebody that doesn't have one type of food allergy?
Yeah, it's really interesting. We do food sensitivity testing, and people can have, you know how bad a peanut allergy can affect somebody? Well, people can have the same allergies to broccoli.
Yes. Oh, I laughing at Danny because he said, no. Oh, you're not aware. You have it. The question is which kind you have.
Yeah, which one?
We
Dan,
don't
you know where they got that from, Danny?
Sorry?
Danny, you know where that originated from?
What, the food allergies?
It's not really food allergy, but we think it's part of the hormetic effect. We think that vegetables across the United States, there's 8,000 different species out there, all have an insecticide that keeps the plant healthy. We think that it's not necessarily an allergy, but the person that eats that fruit or vegetable may be allergic to that insecticide that's protecting the plant, and it's called the hormetic effect.
You guys know what Ross is talking about? Not many people know about that. The plant looks pretty, the plant looks awesome, but if you pull something from the plant, that plant creates a substance that actually is trying to protect itself, and it can induce reactions. It can induce, maybe affecting my metabolism, maybe preventing absorption of nutrients. So eventually the plant is trying to kill me slowly, basically. It is pretty cool, but Ross is right, actually. And it's absolutely, people have no aware of that. So, I mean, I see people that are vegetarians. I hate vegetarians, by the way, but I see them, I see them in my office. And actually, the worst diabetic patient that I have, believe it or not, are vegetarians, because they eat all the grains. Oh, I'm going to be a vegetarian, and they come with high levels of freaking sugars. But I mean,
Eric, you know what we do for people? Eric, we have them keep a food mood log and let them rotate their foods so they can determine which one is causing the problem. Something really simple they could do at home.
The elimination diet is the gold standard. But in people that cannot get pregnant, you have shown they have antibodies against dairy, wheat, or peanuts. They're the three most common ones. I'm just telling you, that's one thing that I would do with his wife, Stephen. I say eliminate dairy, wheat, and peanuts or peanut butter out of her diet and see what happens.
Okay.
Also tell your wife that that Danny Bossa, the expert here, his recommendation is that she needs to have a lot of sex with you. So make sure you tell her that as well.
Also, her thyroid is really, 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 really important in reproduction.
Mm-hmm. Great tips. Okay, we passed the 1 hour mark. So one last question, guys. Someone asked, Eddie V, it was, I think, why do some leading docs push statins for heart disease?
Ross, I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, here we go. I think Ansel Keys in the 1950s did the 7 Nations study, and he said...
Wait a second, Ross. It wasn't 7 nations. He chose 7 nations. He had many nations, but he eliminated those.
Okay, my point is he started the dominoes falling, saying fat was bad, and he was completely wrong. Completely wrong.
Okay, I'm going to answer the question. Yes, why those doctors push statins? Because we are trained by drug companies. We're made to see what they want us to see. I never prescribed statins on my practice, not because I didn't want to. I didn't see the science behind it. The body makes cholesterol for a reason. Is your testosterone levels low? The body's going to make more cholesterol because it wants to make more testosterone. If your vitamin D levels low, the body's going to make more cholesterol because it wants to make more vitamin D. Are you consuming low fat? So the body wants to make more cholesterol because it requires more bile. Okay, so those are things. Now, we are prescribing more statins because based on the research that they put out in the magazines, okay, based on that research, they tell us that statins lowers cardiovascular mortality, which I'm going to say, no way, Jose, no way, it's not true. But my own professor that is awesome tell me it does, and we have huge arguments about that. Now, the companies had to have some kind of result from the Framingham study, okay? So what they did is they had a graph, okay, and they said, we're going to draw a line right in the middle, and we're going to say 200%, 200 milligrams of cholesterol will cause heart disease. What they do not know is that the people above 200 have 51% chance of getting a heart attack, and the people below 200 had a 49%. So are you kidding me? That means that's chance, okay? Now, it's kind of funny that they say this. The statins have also a patent, and you can look it up, in 1985, that says CoQ10. Statins lowers CoQ10. The patent is there. Mevaco will put the patent, so you can never prescribe CoQ10 with statins, because they wanted to know that, because it lowers CoQ10. CoQ10 is absolutely necessary for the heart. Again,
Right.
I just told you guys today is statin it's not lowering cholesterol, it's that they're antifungal. Now, where those fungals grow? In people that have high sugar, high insulin, okay? So be aware of that. Now, we prescribe it because we're taught that it lowers heart disease. We prescribe it because the Cardiovascular Association is controlled by drug companies, and that's what they're going to say.
Should everybody
Yeah,
be
I mean,
taking some
people-
kind of antifungal?
That is a great question. I don't have the answer, Danny. I have not.
I think one of the things we got to realize is that we've got 20,000 people a day turning 65 for the next 20 years. Just because their LDL cholesterol is a little elevated, doctors put them on a statin. But when you give a statin to a 60-year-old, now you impact the lipid bilayer of every cell in his body, because every cell in his body is surrounded by cholesterol, and that cell that surrounds that cholesterol that surrounds the cell, it's important to have a balance of omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids to maintain the inflammatory response. So I see a lot of people in their 60s get knee pain, joint pain. In fact, a NASA flight surgeon wrote a book called Lipitor, The Thief of Memory, about how this statin damaged his life as a NASA flight surgeon. So everything that Eric and we're saying here is critical for people to understand before they get prescribed that drug. Understand, if you are on a statin, to get at least 200 to 400 milligrams of CoQ10. It's important for cellular function.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think it's time to round this up, guys. It's getting late for me. So,
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you.
okay, I thank you so much for all the knowledge you brought to this forum. I think a lot of people can benefit from it. So, anything more you want to add before we close it down?
No, I thank you for asking the questions. I enjoy it. Also, I enjoy you I know you were an athlete, cardiovascular. Those people die sooner too. I don't like them either.
I enjoy this always, guys. Eric, it was nice meeting you face to face for the first time, brother.
Thank you, sir. The same to you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Danny,
Bye-bye.
Eric, Russ, talk to you next time. Bye, guys.
Ciao, guys.
Bye-bye.